The fragile ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran is cracking as tensions escalate around the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf, with renewed Iranian attacks on energy targets in the UAE. Reports indicate that an IDF Iron Dome system is on the ground there, directly assisting Israel's Abraham Accords ally. At the same time, the IDF has increased readiness as it remains unclear whether the Iranian attacks will collapse the ceasefire and lead to a full resumption of the war. More from David Madlin.
Iran has fired more than a dozen missiles and several drones at the United Arab Emirates, marking a sharp escalation and the first such attacks since a fragile ceasefire took hold last month. A report from the UAE claims an Iron Dome interceptor system operated in the UAE downed one of the missiles, suggesting Israeli air defense personnel are deployed in the country. The UAE says its air defenses intercepted many of the attacks, but at least one drone strike sparked a fire at a major oil facility, wounding 3 people. Residents of the Emirates have been told to stay close to shelter over the coming days, as some commercial flights were forced to turn around mid-air, and schools have been put back on day-to-day standby. Reports also indicate Iran launched drones at an Emirati commercial vessel. However, it remains unclear whether these incidents mark a full collapse of the ceasefire. By targeting the UAE, Iran is signaling escalation against a U.S. ally, perhaps without risking a direct strike on Israel that could trigger a much broader military response. Despite the Iranian attack on the Emirates, a senior IDF official says there's no change to Israel's home front guidelines. According to the official, the IDF is following the situation and is at a high level of readiness, adding that Israel's air defense systems and strike capabilities remain at a high level of preparedness, unchanged since the ceasefire. The IDF says it will update the public if conditions change.
The U.S. military says it engaged Iranian forces in the Strait of Hormuz, destroying small boats and intercepting missiles targeting ships. President Trump warned that any attack on U.S. vessels would be met with overwhelming force. ILTV's Steve Leibowitz has the latest.
U.S. military sources say American forces have destroyed 6 Iranian small boats and intercepted multiple cruise missiles and drones in a rapidly escalating operation aimed at opening the Strait of Hormuz for commercial shipping. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper says U.S. forces are advising Iranian units to stay clear of American military assets, while confirming that restrictions on Iranian maritime movement remain in place. Trump confirmed that Iran fired on multiple targets, including a South Korean cargo ship, but says that no significant damage was caused to vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz. However, it remains unclear whether the Iranian attacks on the UAE and on shipping will mark a full collapse of the ceasefire. In his latest comments relating to the war with Iran, Trump says the Strait of Hormuz is being opened and energy prices will soon be going down.
Everybody was wrong. They thought that energy would be at $300, right? $300 a barrel, and it's like at 100. And I think going down, and I see it going down very substantially when this is over, Chris. And I think very rapidly too, at levels that you've never seen, because there's a lot of energy out there. Of ships all over the world that are loaded up with it. They can't do much with it because they got kidnapped by a pretty evil place, but we're taking care of it.
Israeli defense officials are closely monitoring the U.S. operation in the Strait of Hormuz and preparing for possible escalation, including a return to fighting with Iran. An Israeli official described the situation as a game of chicken that will determine who backs down first. Iran appears to be testing Trump's Project Freedom pledge to escort ships through the strait. Israeli officials say the key question is how Iran will respond, whether Iran is willing to back down and risk losing control of the strait or escalates militarily. The official warned that Iran could lash out, raising the possibility of renewed strikes by the U.S. and potentially Israel.
Despite the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, the war in the north continues to intensify. At the same time, a third round of direct Israel-Lebanon talks are expected later this week in Washington, D.C. ILTV's Devil Klein has the latest.
The IDF says forces destroyed a 30-meter underground tunnel used by Hezbollah to advance attacks and located a nearby cache containing some 3 tons of explosives 43 Claymore-style mines, and anti-tank missile systems. Over the past day, the military also struck Hezbollah operatives at around 15 terror infrastructure sites in southern Lebanon. Meanwhile, a soldier was lightly wounded in an explosive drone attack as Hezbollah launched drones and rockets at troops with no other injuries reported. In a separate incident, 2 soldiers were moderately wounded in a clash in close combat with Hezbollah gunmen. Troops returned fire, and the Air Force struck targets in the area. IDF forces also raided a rocket launch site, locating dozens of rockets, weapons, and loaded launchers aimed at Israeli troops and Israeli territory. The military says operations are ongoing to remove threats along the border. Amid continuing fire in the north, Israel is signaling it will intensify strikes against Hezbollah. A senior security official says the group will be targeted, quote, in places it did not think we could reach, adding that while strikes in Beirut may draw U.S. concern, operations in southern Lebanon face fewer constraints, and Hezbollah will, quote, feel that soon. The official adds that senior figures could also be targeted in Beirut if operational opportunities arise. U.S.-mediated talks between Israel and Lebanon are continuing, but Israeli officials say they see little progress. There is nothing real there, one official says, arguing the Lebanese government cannot or will not disarm Hezbollah, even as talks continue, in part, to pressure the group. Reports indicate a possible third round of talks in Washington this week between Ambassador Yechiel Leiter and his Lebanese counterpart, though Israel has not yet confirmed this. Lebanese President Joseph Ayoun says a meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is not possible at this stage, insisting a security agreement and an end to Israeli strikes must come first. Ayoun called the timing, quote, not appropriate, saying talks cannot advance until conditions on the ground change. He added that Lebanon is ready to accelerate negotiations, with a third round of talks in Washington expected soon, stressing there is no turning back from the diplomatic process despite ongoing tensions.
Now, Iran is responding aggressively against U.S. efforts to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, attacking ships and renewing airstrikes on the UAE. Why is the regime willing to risk breaking its ceasefire with the U.S.? Well, for more, we're joined by Benny Sabti, an Iran expert at the INSS. And Benny, thanks for joining us. Help us understand why Tehran is willing to risk that gamble of shooting at ships protected by the U.S., renewing fire on the UAE, knowing it's likely to restart the war against it.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for having me here. I think that hubris of the Iranian regime and those who acts in the war that we had for 40 days, this is the thing and the main issue that we have to deal against the Iranian regime. President Trump has contradictional sayings, and this brings some hope to the regime that it's not going to fall. So whatever the price and the physical price is for that, they are ready to pay it, if it's by defending or if it's by attacking others, ships, or attacking Arab countries in the region, in the Persian Gulf. It's something less important than attacking, for example, Israel or American bases. So this is what they do. They bring the war to that place of almost a complete war, but they don't go that one last step to face them. So this is the art of negotiating by Iran, or art of war, you can name it whatever you want, but this is their way, and we have to understand their psychology first before we go with some physical steps.
Right, and Benny, there is talk the U.S. could launch even a limited strike of sorts against certain targets like Harg Island, and Israel may not be initially involved. Do you think the Iranians, though, would automatically take that as a go sign for them to renew its attacks on Israel?
No, actually, after what I said before, I don't think, as I mind myself opinion, it's not kind of assessment and official, but in my opinion, if U.S. falls to that equation of Iran regime that some one step will be reacted by other step by them, so they can leave Israel quiet, as if we can call it quiet, all this tension that is happening here, and not attacking Israel, but do whatever they can against other countries, against American bases. They won't underestimate it. They won't. They will react for something, but for not bringing the war to their homes and to that chance of falling of the regime, they won't maybe attack Israel because Israel really wants to bring down the regime. And US doesn't want that. This is a huge problem between us and US. And until they understand that it can be a limited attack against them, they can take it. They can understand that and bring it to that equation that they can suffer and they repair the damages, but they can bring the suffer to the others.
Benny, you say the regime is prepared to suffer. There are steps, even extreme steps, the U.S. can take, taking over or destroying Karg Island, the oil facilities, even taking out power plants and putting Tehran and other cities in darkness. Would that not be enough to at least make the regime more pliable or weaken it to the point where it could be toppled?
No, actually, I don't think so, because these things are fixable. These prices are economic prices or physical prices, and the regime and the IRGC generals, which are the most important part of the regime, as I think that they are, they can live with that. They can depress the people. They can live with higher prices in the bazaar, in the markets, and people will suffer. But the ones who won't suffer until they are assassinated or eliminated, those are those generals that in their beliefs, they can live with whatever prices that they can pay and just not be eliminated. And the one who wants to take them out as personals, as figures, is only Israel. When President Trump said that I want to negotiate with these figures, those who remained in Iran regime, actually, I think it was a huge mistake. This is a misunderstanding of Iran regime, and whoever is still there, they became more radical. They became more enthusiastic in taking their goals.
Right.
And this is what we are suffering from now.
All right. And the Iranian people, of course, suffering. Benny Sabti, thank you for joining us on ILTV.
The University of Haifa stands at the forefront of global impact, ranking #1 in Israel, and has been ranked among the top 100 universities worldwide for sustainability. Here, environmental responsibility, social justice, and academic research come together to build a better future.
U Haifa International also has adopted the sustainability perspective, where we take part also in high-impact work that is informed by academic research to ensure that we have a better world to live in.
From marine research in the Mediterranean to community-focused programs shaping peace and equality, students engage directly with the issues that matter.
It's not just a degree, it's an experience, and it opens your mind, your network, and your world.
Study where innovation meets purpose on a campus committed to progress, diversity, and global citizenship. Master your mind, live your Israel experience. Shape a sustainable future at U Haifa International.
New York City, the city with the largest total Jewish population in the world, is reporting a sharp rise in anti-Semitic hate crimes, with new NYPD data showing Jews were the target of 60% of incidents last month, including swastika graffiti sprayed on Jewish synagogues and Jewish sites. More on the situation in my hometown in this report.
In New York City, Jews were targeted in 60% of all confirmed hate crimes in April, according to New York Police Department data released Monday. Out of 50 total hate crimes reported in the city last month, 30 were classified as anti-Semitic incidents. Jews make up around 10% of New York City's population, making them disproportionately targeted compared to other communities. The report details a range of incidents, from graffiti and harassment to property vandalism, with other groups also targeted, including Black, Hispanic, and LGBTQ communities, while no confirmed incidents
were recorded against Muslim, Asian, or white residents in that period. The latest incidents occurred in the Queens neighborhood of Forest Hills, where multiple swastikas were spray-painted on Jewish sites overnight, including the synagogue congregation Machane Chodesh. One of the markings was placed on a memorial dedicated to survivors of Kristallnacht, the 1938 Nazi-era pogroms against Jews in Germany. Local leaders, including New York City Council Speaker Julie Menin, visited the scene and condemned the attacks, saying Jewish residents were met with threatening signals of hatred instead of their normal community life. Mayor Zoran Mandani said he was angered and horrified by the vandalism, but critics accuse him of failing to take measures against expressions of anti-Semitism, including his lack of support for laws that would create a safe zone around houses of worship and schools by limiting the protest outside them. The NYPD says it is investigating the incidents and searching for at least 4 suspects. Community groups say some of the vandalized locations also include facilities used by young children, adding to concern among local residents. New York City officials say the data reflects a broader trend of elevated anti-Semitic incidents in the city since the start of the Gaza war, with Jews continuing to be the most targeted group in hate crime statistics. U.S. President Donald Trump has declared what he calls a first in American history, a national Sabbath as part of Jewish American Heritage Month. The White House says the national Sabbath will take place next week from sundown Friday to nightfall Saturday during the Torah portion of Bamidbar. In a proclamation, Trump said the initiative is meant to recognize the Jewish tradition of Shabbat, a time for rest, reflection, and gratitude, while also marking 250 years of American independence. Trump invited friends, families, and communities of all backgrounds to take part, calling it a moment to come together in appreciation of the United States. The president also highlighted the historical contributions of Jewish Americans, saying they have helped shape the nation's story and strengthen its communities. The proclamation referenced a letter from First President George Washington to the Jewish community, seen as a foundational moment for religious freedom in America, as well as revolutionary-era financier Chaim Solomon. The announcement was quickly welcomed by Orthodox Jewish congregations, which praised the recognition of Shabbat and the role of Jewish values in American life. The move is the latest in a series of outreach efforts by Trump to the Jewish community, including a high-profile visit last year to the Ohel, the gravesite of the Lubavitcher Rebbe in New York City. The White House says the national Sabbath is both a symbolic gesture and a call for unity, linking Americans' founding values with Jewish tradition and heritage. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz marked his first year in office on Monday by reaffirming that Jewish life is an integral part of German society, and that any attack on it is an attack on democracy itself. Speaking ahead of a meeting of his conservative CDU party held at the Chabad Synagogue and campus in Berlin, Merz said that Germany has a historical obligation to protect Jewish communities. He stressed that his party remains deeply committed to this responsibility, standing alongside Rabbi Yehuda Techtel, the Brooklyn-born Chabad emissary in Germany. Merz also warned that anti-Semitism has become increasingly open, brazen, and violent since the Hamas-led October 7, 2023 attacks that sparked the Gaza war. Germany remains one of Israel's closest allies and its second-largest supplier of military equipment after the U.S., with official policy rooted in its post-Holocaust historical responsibilities. Merz spoke directly to the Jewish community and said this.
Jüdisches Leben gehört zu Deutschland. Und wer jüdisches Leben in Deutschland angreift, greift unsere Gesellschaft an und greift unsere Demokratie an. Deutschland hat eine historische Verpflichtung, dieses Leben in Deutschland zu schützen. Und die CDU ist wie keine zweite Partei in Deutschland diesem Auftrag innerlich fest verbunden. Und das ist der Grund dafür, dass wir heute hier sind. Und ich möchte euch Kindern sagen, wir schützen euch. Wir stehen an eurer Seite. Und wir tun alles, damit ihr in Berlin eine Gelegenheit habt, groß zu werden, erwachsen zu werden, gut ausgebildet zu werden, dass ihr hier auf diesem Campus Kultur, Sport, Musik, Lernen miteinander verbinden könnt.
Australia is continuing its public hearings into the deadly Bondi Beach mass shooting that occurred during a Jewish Hanukkah celebration as part of a wider national inquiry into rising anti-Semitism and social tensions in the country. The attack, which left 15 people dead, has prompted widespread calls for stronger action against hate crimes and for tighter gun control laws. The hearings are being held by the Royal Commission on Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion, which is examining both the incident itself and the broader environment of growing anti-Jewish sentiment. At the same time, Sydney Mayor Clover Moore has banned a public forum event titled Globalize the Intifada that was scheduled to run concurrent with the hearings, saying it would have contributed to a hostile atmosphere. Former High Court Judge Virginia Bell, who was leading the inquiry, said the initial hearings will focus on the nature and extent of anti-Semitism in Australia. The commission has already received more than 5,700 public submissions and is expected to deliver its final report on December 14th, 1 year after the attack.
Anti-Semitism is not a belief, it is a virus, and like a virus, it mutates. Many commentators have written and spoken extensively about these mutations of anti-Semitism. Religious, cultural, and racial anti-Semitism all persist. But one of the tasks of this hearing block is to identify and assess the current character of anti-Semitism in Australia. We anticipate that the experts will assist in understanding the ways in which and the circumstances in which legitimate criticism of government action is to be distinguished from anti-Semitic attribution of collective fault to Jews generally or to Zionists generally.
Buying real estate in Israel from abroad requires experience, trust, and the right guidance. Aliyah.il is a trusted real estate company specializing in helping international buyers navigate the Israeli property market with clarity and confidence. You will work directly with Eliyahu Kleinman, a dedicated representative of Aliyah.il, who will personally manage each step of the process, from property search to final closing, ensuring everything is handled professionally and efficiently. From Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, Ra'anana to Netanya, the right property is closer than it seems. Aliyah.il, trusted guidance every step of the way.
The State of Israel announces the year of Od Yoter Tov, 0% income tax for New Olim. You read that right. 0% income tax for New Olim for those who make Aliyah in 2026. And this is in addition to the existing benefits for New Olim in employment and beyond. It's simply Od Yoter Tov. 100% Zionism, 0% income tax. Now is the time to make Aliyah. For more details, visit the Ofik Israeli website.
Let's take a look now at the weather forecast. Cloudy skies are expected around most of the country tonight, with temperatures reaching lows of 13 degrees Celsius or 56 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow we'll see clear skies alongside steady temperatures, seeing highs of 21 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates on Israel and on all your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channels and keep up with us on social media. That's ILTV Israel on all platforms. You could also catch us on Screen IL with 24/7 live coverage. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Khalid Ben David, and thank you so much for watching.